Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Bloom Seed Library podcast. I'm your host, Dave Maxwell, and I am also the president and founder of the Bloom Seed Library here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. So the purpose of this podcast is to tell you a bit about the Seed Library in Bloomsburg, a bit about seed libraries in general, and then also to provide information about gardening, seed saving, biodiversity, permaculture, and other things that could be useful to you as a home gardener or seed saver. So let's jump in. If you're unfamiliar with what a seed library is, it's a location either in a public library, a university, or really any other setting where a person can go and check out seeds like you would check out a book at a library and take them home, sow, and plant those seeds. Often seed libraries encourage people to take seeds from the plants that they grow and donate them back into the seed library. Those help to keep seed libraries going. So I'd like to walk you through a process of using the seed library in Bloomsburg, just so you have an idea of what it would be like. So our seed library is housed in the Bloomsburg Public Library on Market Street in Bloomsburg. So say you're interested in checking out some seeds and you would enter the library during its normal business hours. You would locate our seed library within that library, and what you would see is stacks and stacks of different boxes of seeds that are usually labeled alphabetically. We tend to have a box of just flowers, a box of just herbs, and then a box of regular fruits and vegetables, items like that. And we separate them out because it's a little bit easier that way rather than going through a huge list of all different types of seeds to get exactly what you want. But let's say you're interested in getting some, say, lettuce seeds. So you would see some forms that you could sign up to become a free member for life for the seed library. We just ask for your name, some contact information, so we can have a running tally of our members and the contact information for our members should we need to send out anything to them. You'd fill out your information, you'd drop it in a box, and then you could look through the seed library to see what you're interested in. Let's say you see some lettuce, you grab the lettuce you want, you see a few different varieties, you can take the seeds you want. You move over to some flowers, take some seeds there. That's it. That's all you have to do. And once you're a member, you've signed that form once, you're in. So you could take those seeds, sow them, do what you like in your garden. And what we usually encourage people to do is, if you have the knowledge or the ability, go ahead and harvest some seeds from those plants if you can at the end of the season. And then you can bring them back to the seed library, and there'll be a form where you can fill out what you have. You can bag those seeds and drop it into a donation box. We also have people occasionally drop a few dollars in that donation box, which is really helpful because the seed library is funded by the president and by my wife, who's the vice president. We're moving closer to a nonprofit status, which we do hope to achieve this year in 2024. However, sometimes these things take time. It could bleed over into 2025, but we're going to get there. That was the plan from the seed library from the beginning. It's just a little bit pricey to get a nonprofit going, but once we are able to get it going, we'll be able to apply for grants, and we'll also be able to receive corporate seed donations from much larger seed companies. So that's something to look forward to if you're following our journey. So when the seed library was first started, I wasn't really sure where to put the seed library. And the Greenwood Farm folks, the McKee family, actually reached out to me and said that the seed library could be put in their farm market. And that was fantastic. And at the time, we really only had one smaller box of seeds, but they were so encouraging and so supportive that allowed the seed library to get going. And we'll be forever grateful to them for doing that because we would not be where we are today without the McKee family. So the seed library was in the Greenwood Farm Market, and all the way up until when COVID-19 sort of hit and everything shut down. At that point, we realized there could not be a physical location for the seed library, and so the seed library was brought back to our home. So my wife and I realized we still wanted to get these seeds out there. We still wanted people to have access to the seeds, but with the quarantine in place, we weren't exactly sure what to do to have people to look through it, so we decided to put a list up on our website, which is bloomseedlibrary.org. People were able to send us emails of what they wanted from that list, and we either then mailed out the seeds to those people or drove to their location, because we typically serve the Bloomsburg and surrounding areas. So that was able to keep the seed library afloat during the quarantine for COVID-19. Now, once the quarantine had passed, we spoke with the Bloomsburg Public Library, and they said that they would be happy to host the seed library inside the public library. So ever since the quarantine ended, that's where the seed library has been hosted. And having it in the Bloomsburg Public Library has really helped us expand and serve the community because it is open so much during the week. So if you have any interest in seeds in the local area, you can check the Bloomsburg Public Library website for their hours, and at any point when they're open, you'd have access to seeds. So we really do want to thank the Bloomsburg Public Library, their directors, and the board for allowing us to have the library there. It's really breathed a lot of life into the seed library. The Bloomsburg Public Library has also been absolutely fantastic in letting us host talks and educational presentations there about seeds and gardening. We've done quite a few of those, and we've had really nice community support. But, at times people can't make it out to all of these things, and they also weren't recorded. So that's actually the inspiration for this podcast. We thought if we were to put some educational material out that people could listen to at their leisure, and then rewind to re-listen to certain parts if they wanted to understand something, this type of podcast format would be really beneficial for that. It would also allow guests from out of the area that might not be able to travel to contribute some knowledge and information. So during future episodes of this podcast, that's what you're going to experience. So a little more about the Seed Library here in Bloomsburg and some of our programs. We have 4 main programs currently. The first program is the Gardener Spotlight, and what that is we often have some pretty prolific gardeners or gardener associations donate seeds to the Seed Library, and since they take the time and the care to harvest the seeds and clean them and package and label them in these bulk amounts, we really wanted to showcase those gardeners or those organizations to the community. So we created the Gardener Spotlight program. And what that is, let's say you're a gardener, you have a bag of many different seed types you'd like to donate to the Seed Library. Once you donate those in, we'll go ahead and process those seeds in, and then we'll give you your own box at the Seed Library. The box will have your name on it. We'll speak with you to get a little bio of you, maybe even some photographs, and that information is also put up on our social media as well as our website. And what we found with that is it not only is a good way for us to say thank you to the people spending time donating seeds to the Seed Library, but it also shows the community, look, this is one of your peers here in the community doing all of this, and we just want you to see the faces behind the folks that are donating locally. Because, when you go to the Seed Library and you pick out a packet of seeds, those seeds may have been grown by your neighbor or someone on the other side of town, and the Seed Library is such a good sense of community, and we just really want to promote that. Another very important program we have is the Seed Steward program. So if I was going to grow sunflowers in my yard, and I grew a specific type of sunflower, if I were to grow another type of sunflower, they could cross-pollinate. And so the seeds that I may take from that sunflower and donate to the Seed Library are now sort of a hybrid pollinated seed. So as a Seed Library, we want to be able to say exactly what certain seed types are. So there are a few functions of the Seed Stewards. One, say if I have a specific type of sunflower here I'm growing, I can have a seed steward at another location with a different type of sunflower. And when we collect seeds, they're going to remain their 2 separate types. They won't have cross-pollinated. The other huge part of the seed stewards is that seed stewards are a major portion of keeping the Seed Library going. Much of the seeds we get are donated from heirloom or organic seed companies, but a growing amount of the seeds come from local gardeners, farms, and other gardening organizations here locally. So when a seed steward says that they're going to help out the Seed Library, we can give them seeds based on their skill level that are in high need, that are often checked out quite a bit. And we can say, yes, we absolutely need, say, basil, for example. Could you grow basil for us this year? If that person says yes, they'll grow exclusively basil for us. Then at the end of that season, we'll have that amount of seeds. So the Seed Steward program is incredibly important to the Seed Library. And we do see more seed stewards regularly, and we're eternally grateful. So our goal is to have all of the seeds that come into the Seed Library be donated from our local community. Another program that we like is the Donate a Row program. So we have quite a few local food cupboards and food pantries that serve the community. And so the Donate a Row program is essentially us asking people who take seeds from the Seed Library and grow plants from them to consider taking the fruit or vegetable from a plant or an entire row and reaching out to a local food pantry and seeing if they can donate that food to the food pantry. We do have a variety of seeds, but we really try to focus on heirloom and organic seeds. And the idea is that if we have people in our community that are growing fresh, local, organic produce that they can donate into the food pantries, it really helps certain people in need in our community, and it really does bring community together. We also encourage people to donate herbs, and sometimes food pantries really just love having fresh cut flowers. Sometimes it's a quality of life issue. If you need to use a food pantry, if you're in a certain bind, it can just be really nice to have something from your community showing that people care locally and are willing to give part of their own gardens that they grew, food with their own hands, out to the community. So we love that program, and we encourage anybody who takes any type of seed from the seed library to consider doing that if they have the ability. We do request that if people are going to donate food to local food pantries, that you reach out to those food pantries first to ensure that what you have is something in need, and to get the right process and protocol for donating such food to them. We certainly don't want people putting a box of tomatoes outside of a door where, maybe the food pantry won't be checking that door for a few days, and then it gets sort of gross. Another program we have is the Seeds for Seniors program. So at the Bloom Seed Library, we understand that our seniors are an extremely important part of our population, and everything we really have in today's world came from those before us. And so the Seeds for Seniors program is, we essentially have 5 small versions of the seed library that get put in 5 local senior centers in the area, and we do that every year. And the goal is to just help seniors in the area that may have better access to the senior centers be able to have access to seeds, and also to show seniors how much they mean in our community. So that program has always been very important, and we do hope to expand that a little bit more. As the seed library grows and we get more seeds, and as we move to a nonprofit status, we really hope to branch out more into the community to help seniors. And in fact, one of the partners of the seed library, someone that has helped us quite a bit, Jarrell Harper, who has a company, Seeds of Faith, has talked about developing raised boxes that are wheelchair accessible. So that type of thing is very important to us, and the partners and friends of the seed library find that very important as well. So we really do hope to continue serving seniors and do more for them than we are currently. So a question people often think at this point of when we're talking about the seed library is, why a seed library? So you have heard about some of our programs and a little bit about the history of the seed library, but why a seed library? Why would a community need or even want a seed library? And there are a few reasons. One of the first obvious reasons is it's very cost effective. If you are a person looking to start a garden or continue your garden year after year, to have a seed library. Because you're able to go out and check out seeds for free. You're able to try new things, plants that you may not have tried before, and you'll be able to do that and further your gardening experience without any potential loss. So if you're going to pay, say $25 to try a few different seeds, and it's your first time trying those plants and it doesn't go well, you'll have wasted that money. So with the seed library, you can experiment and really try to learn more about gardening. We're really without any risk. And the benefit then is, if you're successful, you can take some of those seeds and donate them back. So not only does that help you be able to experiment, help you be able to have access to seeds without taking out of your pocket, but it can help to empower the community, because a more educated gardening community can contribute more to the seed library, which then helps to have more people be able to experiment and try gardening, which creates a more educated gardening community, and the cycle continues. We believe that food sovereignty and seed sovereignty is something that's very important to us. Being able to have access to seeds that are in your community, that are outside of a commercial network, can be really beneficial, because you could have access to types of seeds that you may not be able to go and purchase at your local sort of gardening store, or you may have to really seek out online and spend quite a bit of money and time finding. So, as we get certain heirloom varieties and different varieties of seeds in the seed library, that allows our community to have continued access to seeds and to be able to save themselves. And part of what we do in the seed library to promote that is to sort of teach education on seed saving and seed stewarding. A long time ago, people would plant seeds and they'd save from them every year. And they'd plant the next year with the seeds they saved, and that was sort of the norm. It does seem like after a while we've sort of forgotten that. And so, we do want to help empower people to learn how to save and, keep using those seeds year after year and promote sort of the heirloom seed mindset. In the term of heirloom seeds, there are often seeds that when they're sold commercially are either hybrid seeds or seeds that are really created just for one planting. And so certain corns, if you take that corn and try to plant it the next year, you won't get the same plant that you had the first year. So part of a seed library too is kind of keeping that heirloom seed back into the community so people can reuse that same plant year after year. Now, along with that comes the resilience of collecting seeds from a plant that flourished the best in your local environment. So let's say we'll go back to sunflowers because they're one of my favorite, but let's say I plant a sunflower patch, and at the end of the season, I take the biggest, healthiest sunflower and I collect seeds from that sunflower. Those seeds are going to be a little bit more adapted to the environment because that plant grew really well. So the next year I plant another sunflower patch with those seeds. I take the best seeds out of that patch and I save those as well. So year after year, I'm taking the best plants and the best seeds that adapted the most to our specific local biome. And so that's sort of the goal of the seed library too, is the more people take their seeds from the plants they grew locally and contribute them back into the seed library, more and more you're going to have seeds that are really adapted and resilient for our area specifically. And so that's important. I mentioned a bit ago about food security, but that is a big focus of the seed library. And what we hope to do is be able to promote more education with food growth and more resources to people who may be struggling. For example, one of the programs that I would like to put into place, and hopefully we can do it in the next year, is to be able to provide a pot, some dirt, and some seeds to the local food pantries for a person to take home and sort of experiment. And even if you don't have a lot of space, maybe having a free pot, free good soil, and say some dill or some basil can help a person feel slightly empowered that they know how to do this. And if somebody has any kind of property or land, we want to help educate, help talk about soil health, that a person, even with a small plot of land, be able to help grow some food for themselves. We saw during COVID-19 that some of the shelves were bare in our grocery store. And even in my own neighborhood, I started seeing a lot of gardens pop up. And so that idea of if we know how to grow food to feed ourselves a little bit, it may not solve all problems with food access, but we hope that any little bit can help in some way. And so food security is a big part of the seed library and something that we continuously think about how we can do better in helping our local community with that. And the empowerment of the home gardener is something that's a seed library is really great for as well. As I mentioned a few times so far, just having the ability to experiment and try new things can be fantastic. There are a few things that my wife and I have tried that we never tried to grow before, and now that we have, we absolutely love it. Zinnias is a good example. Once we started growing zinnias, we were obsessed with them. So, every year we grow zinnias on our own property here, probably 1,000 zinnias, and we collect maybe 80% of those seeds, and they go into the seed library, and some go back into our own stash, and we replant them again next year. But being empowered to do that means we can have huge patches of things we love virtually free because we're collecting from our own seeds. We have some patches that were, say there was a patch of daisies we had just a few daisy flowers, and at this point we have, I'd say, probably 300 square feet of daisies at this point on our land, just because, we saved from a few flowers, and that became 20, and that became 100, and that became 1,000. So, that type of empowerment, if you have any sort of land or property that you can work with to really make it what you want, feels really good. And, whether that person needs to try again from the seed library because maybe something they experimented with this year didn't work, or they just want to keep expanding. We hope that the seed library can empower people to do so. So those are some of the main reasons why a seed library can be important. But honestly, it varies in each community. There may be certain communities that have certain needs for a seed library that others don't. mainly in our community here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. It's just having access to the seeds at a lower cost seems to be the feedback that we receive. Just being able to access seeds without spending a lot of money seems to empower our gardeners locally. And some of it is being able to try brand new things. We have had a lot of that, of people saying, wow, I've never heard of this type of marigold before. This is really cool. I'm going to take this home and try it. So that seems to be some of the main benefits here in our community. But as we move forward, we're looking at ways we can serve better. This has always been here locally for the purpose of serving our community. And our mission was to help beautify our neighborhoods and provide food security. And so while we may have done some things sort of indirectly, we want to do more. So that leads me into some of the things we have in the works here. I had mentioned a little bit about us moving into a nonprofit status. So normally I reach out to different companies around the country, usually once to twice a year, and I ask if they have any seeds they could donate. A lot of commercial seed companies, if they have overstock towards the end of their season, they donate it to food pantries or schools or different organizations that are usually nonprofits or not-for-profits, even if they're not an official 501c3. So we've had a lot of companies donate extra seeds to us, and that has been sort of the lifeblood of the seed library from the beginning. But as a nonprofit, we would have access to seed donations from a lot larger companies. So as the seed library keeps expanding and we have new members and we'd like to reach out more and serve more of the community, it's important for us to move to a nonprofit status, even if it's just to have seed donations from some of these larger organic seed companies. But there are also other benefits. Being a nonprofit means we could be donations to us could be tax deductible. We self-fund all of the seed packets, materials, marketing, website, email, and everything. So, and we're happy to do it because we see this as community service. We could do a lot more with nonprofit status. We would also be able to apply for grants and different programs that we could then use to go ahead and help our community in our specific way. So that's something we've wanted since the beginning. And at this time, as the seed library has grown and we have more interest, and now I've found some great partners in the farm at Catawissa Creek with the Darling family. That is now something that is quite more attainable than it was. So that's something we're working on here hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months to get going so that we can serve the community even more than we do now. One of the other things that has been in the works and you're now experiencing is the podcast. So, we wanted to provide more educational materials, and we wanted to provide, more opportunities for people to listen in and learn. And so this podcast will help us do that. As I mentioned, our partners at the farm at Catawissa Creek in Catawissa, Pennsylvania, they're also going to be working on creating some educational videos for people on seed saving, planting, things like that. And really, we want an educated and empowered community. And I found just such incredible partners in the folks at the farm at Catawissa Creek. They are just incredible people, and their drive to help the community is huge. And so, together, I think we're going to do some pretty great things. And our goal is also to have all of the seeds that come into the seed library, if possible, be grown from our local community. And that would require more seed stewards, that would require local farms or people who have larger plots of land to grow seeds for the community. Ideally, that would be how we'd get all of our seeds. But with the nonprofit status, we'd be able to sort of, booster up our seed storage if we're not able to achieve that, depending on weather and different things that can happen. Another thing in the works is the PA Seed Alliance. About 2 years ago, I created the PA Seed Alliance in the hope to provide materials for other seed libraries in Pennsylvania to look at and ensure they're following the best practices as laid out by the PA Department of Agriculture. So the idea behind the PA Seed Alliance was that information to follow the best practices, or if you were interested in starting a seed library in Pennsylvania, you'd be able to go to the Seed Alliance, have all of the materials and protocols you need to have the best practice seed library in Pennsylvania, and then commit to following those best practices and protocols. And the idea was once you do that, you would become a PA Seed Alliance seed librarian. Basically, in time, it would be a sort of a search resource that you'd be able to see seed libraries in your state. You'd be able to know which ones are following the rules correctly, and have contact information for that seed library. And we hoped eventually it could be sort of the search engine for seed libraries in the state. Another good thing about that is, so for example, in our property here, there are certain things we have just a plethora of, and daisies are a great example. We could fill 3-gallon bags of daisy seeds at the end of the year. So those seeds are never going to be checked out in our local seed library because there's just not a huge demand. But if there was a seed library in a neighboring community that maybe really needed some of those seeds and were overrun with, say, tomato seeds, and we had no tomato seeds, maybe we could switch back and forth. And so that was some of the idea behind the PA Seed Alliance. And of course, that's something, as we grow and reach out to other seed libraries, we would see if that's something that would sort of work between all of us. But right now, it's an idea, just sort of a seed of an idea, and we want to see where that grows. So I'll go over the process of what happens when a seed comes into us all the way to when it's checked out by you. Because people often are curious out of that. And I found it sort of interesting in some of the talks we had, how curious people were of the background process. So let's say we get a seed donation in. Let's say a local gardener donates seeds, and they say, this is straw flower. I'm not sure if it's organic. I'm not sure it was on the property when I moved there, but here are some seeds. So what we do is we have a master spreadsheet, and we'll say, we'll collect that person's information, and we'll create a lot. And we'll say that, say John Doe is lot 1. So any seed that John Doe ever donates to us is lot 1, because that's John Doe's lot. So we'll create an item number. So say that's the first seed we ever receive. We'll call it 001. And we just put some information down. It's straw flower. It was grown in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. We're unsure if it's hybrid or if it's heirloom or anything like that. And then we keep that 001 in our storage, so we know whenever we're looking at 001, it's this. And so anytime we get a seed donation from a person, from a corporation, from a farm, everybody gets their own lot number, and they have that lot number. It's all internal information. So let's say John Doe 3 years from now donates, it's still lot 1 seeds. May not be too fascinating, but it's really helpful for us on the back end when we're sort of tracking everything and keeping stock of our seeds and who donated what. But on our master spreadsheet, we have the seed, the type. Is it a flower? Is it a vegetable? Is it organic? Is it heirloom, open pollinated? When was it donated? What year is it? And we keep all of that information around and in stock. And then as we run out of that specific item, we put it in a past items sheet. So at this point here, 2024, we are into the 900s. So we've had 900 different types of seeds donated to us since 2018. And we're probably going to clear 1,000 by the end of the year. So we have all of that tracked, just thousands of different levels of information about seeds that we have had, what we have in stock, and what's going out. So when we go to package seeds, we look at what we have in stock. We see what is needed in the seed library. Are there items that are constantly checked out? Are we still full of a certain item we don't need to restock? And then we go home and we fill those packets. We basically track what we've stocked on our sheet, so we know where we are, if we have anything in storage or if it's all out. We take that down to the seed library, usually on a Saturday, and we refill. So that's sort of the back end on what happens with seeds. And all of our seeds are stored in a cool, dry location. We have food-safe silica packets that go into the seeds to make sure that they stay safe and dry and cool, and we check them on a regular basis. So we take really good care of our seeds in storage because that allows us to serve the community. So we've given you a lot of information in this podcast. Some of it may have been fun or interesting to know. Some of it may have been worthy of fast forwarding through, but we hope that this information has helped you understand seed libraries in general, and specifically the Bloom Seed Library. Now, what you can expect in other podcasts are interviews with people locally and nationally on different topics of their expertise. We're talking to Red's Tree Service locally, a fantastic organization that focuses on plant and tree health. We're talking about doing interviews with them so they can explain about keeping your trees and shrubs happy, how to close them down for the winter, how to get things started in the spring, different organizations and farms and gardeners locally about how to compost or how to prep your garden or how to save seeds or how to grow certain kinds of seeds. Or there's just a lot of information we want to give to you that could be helpful. And so that's what you can expect on future podcasts. And while all of the podcasts will be in audio format, there will also be video podcasts as well. If you don't have access to video, you will still be able to listen to the audio portions of the podcast like you are now. But just keep an eye out on things to come. And always, if you have questions or topics you'd love to see in the podcast, go ahead and email them to info@bloomseedlibrary.org. Or you could go to bloomseedlibrary.org and fill out a contact form there. We'd be happy to hear from you, and we hope to provide you the content that you would like to see. Our goal is to support the community, and we hope that you can help us help you. So thank you so much for your time. Again, this is Dave Maxwell, the president and founder of the Seed Library. We look so forward to helping you in this format as well and providing the information that we think will be beneficial to you. So thank you so much for your years of use of the Seed Library, and we really hope to serve you for the next 50 years. So thank you so much. Have a great day.